Good evening. It's October 4th, 2013. My name is Matthew Ogden, and I would like to welcome all of you to our weekly broadcast of the LaRouche PAC Friday night webcast. As you know, if you've been watching our broadcasts, we do these on a weekly basis, and we feature Mr. Lyndon LaRouche. And the format is a series of questions which Mr. LaRouche is given the opportunity to respond to. Joining me in the studio tonight is Benjamin Deniston, a leader of our basement scientific research team. He will be joining me in posing a series of questions. Now, I would like to start with a significant question which has come in from a source in Washington, and the questioner asks the following. Mr. LaRouche, you have issued a statement this week addressing the deeper economic and financial collapse process and the urgent need to pass Glass-Steagall now. This is in the context of the still ongoing government shutdown, the looming showdown over the debt ceiling, and the fight over Obamacare. You were a harsh critic of Obamacare from the outset. Can you please provide us with your assessment of the actual economic and financial crisis that most members of Congress and the administration are avoiding? What is the real magnitude of the problem, and what are the real solutions?
Well, I'm going to say something in terms that will be regarded as shocking, but it's necessary to do so in order to tell the truth. If you try to say polite things about this situation, you're going to be a liar, whether you intend to be so or not. What has happened to the United States right now is the culmination of a process which has reached a point of absolute breakdown, that where everything will tend to break down. And it could break down at any point. For example, you have social effects in a condition like this. Now, we had a few incidents, shooting incidents and similar kinds of things that happened immediately after the shutdown started. What this represented was not people going freaked out. It meant the instability of the entire social process that had entered. Yeah, you no longer have a system that is rational in any sense. And there's nothing about what either the Republicans are doing, or even worse, what Obama is doing in this connection. There is no solution for the situation in which Obama and the Republicans have put this situation. No possible solution. This is absolutely insane. And if they try to even get through what Obama's trying to get through, it will cause the greatest increase of death rates among the American people you ever heard of. So the problem is that when the repeal of Glass-Steagall occurred, before the Bush administration, young Bush, that from that point on, there has been a continual collapse of the U.S. economy. What you have is Wall Street, but Wall Street is not really an economy; it's a disease. There's no particular benefit in this process. It's a sickness, a disorder, and it's a fraud against the people. Now, what happens? Two things happen. You have the cancellation of Glass-Steagall. That started the process. Then we had the 9/11 operation. That accelerated the process, of the breakdown process. And that accelerated an increasing rate of inflation in the process. And this has gone soaring out of control. Now, people don't realize by looking at the government figures on this purpose. They don't mean anything, because what's happening, you're having a collapse of actual production, which means that we are losing our level of production. At the same time, we're having an inflation of what is not production, but just plain money speculation. In other words, it becomes a Wall Street-oriented operation with no regard. The shutting down of the auto industry was the most signal part of this physical breakdown of the economy. Now, what's happened more recently, the standard of living of ordinary working people in their professions, and whatever the trade is they are falling way behind. In other words, they are much poorer while working. Also, at the same time, of the total population of the United States, the employable population in particular, their collapse is catastrophic. Because we no longer have the productive powers of labor. We no longer have the employed skills, which have the same value. So your skill level per capita has collapsing, not just the total amount of employment, but the skill level, the net skill level. So now we've come to a point where Obama's come up with the dirtiest swindle of them all. What he's doing is he is about to unleash what's called bail-in. If you let him do that, if you let him go with this Obamacare swindle, and it's a pure swindle, there's no truth in it. Obama's the biggest liar in the United States right now. Well, what that means is we've come into a time where once he puts that into place, his Obamacare, first of all, most people will not be qualified for help under Obamacare. People are going to die through this action of Obama's Obamacare. We have leaders in the Senate who are as guilty as hell in backing up Obama on this thing. Because were the thing to go into effect, you're going to have an accelerating rate of deaths among people who would no longer have the means to exist, and no longer have any real health care. This is a murderous swindle by Obama, or the people who are pushing him. So these lead to a lot of complications. First of all, because we became a post-industrial society with freakish elements added into that, the United States is now headed toward doom, to a breakdown. And what you have is the panic you saw in 2 cases on the streets in Washington, and the other reflections of the same kind of panic. This is not a panic. The problem is not that the panic occurred. The problem is that the panic is a symptom of the horrible thing that is occurring. And you have to look at these things in this way. The other problem is, because we are no longer an industrial power, we killed off most of our industrial power. We were once on the way, in the 1970s, we were on the way to a major physical operation, a major production, thermonuclear fusion. We were on the road then, and I was part of an organization then at that time, the Fusion Energy Foundation. And what we had as principles qualified for that. As we went along, we began to get more and more, because of the idea of the space program, we got more and more of how to do this. But then you find automatically you could never do it. People could play around with fusion, but they were not allowed to actually apply it in the way it was intended to be developed and used. So what we've been doing, the United States per capita is collapsing. The incomes of our people are collapsing. The rate of unemployment is collapsing. And Wall Street is the principal criminal. Because Wall Street being turned loose, then with Bush, young Bush, with 9/11, and what's followed with Obama, has been the greatest catastrophe for the United States in modern times. And if we allow Obama to continue to do what he does now, then bail-in will come in, and the death rate in the United States among our people will be unbelievable. So therefore, Obama must be thrown out of office. What he's doing is treasonous in effect. Whatever he intends to do, his actions are treasonous, because they go to the very existence of the United States. We no longer will exist as a nation. What he's doing is the highest form of treason. It's not treason against the nation. It's treason in the form of destroying the nation. Now, the alternative is what's important. we have to sort of re-educate a lot of people who lost the skills of understanding how an economy works. Now, in fact, I can say from my expertise that only a very small percentile of the population who are supposed to be economists or people like that, only a very small percent will have any real competence. I probably know of them or know them personally. They are competent in what they do. I'm involved in a different level, right, in this stuff. But the point is, we've reached a point that if we sit back and allow Obama to continue this swindle, and it is a pure swindle and a mass murderous one, because once the bail-in program is put in, the intention is first, get the health care, Obamacare in first, then come in with bail-in. This is the nightmare of Wall Street. If that comes in, then you're going to get general mass death among people who are not qualified to be given the opportunity to have health care. They'll be off the health care list. Then with bail-in, the rate at which the collapse of these values occur will accelerate. And you will have mass murder in the United States, conforming to what the British Queen wants us to do. And that's it. So we're now faced, in the case that anybody who's still voting for Obama and backing Obama is either criminal or insane.